world is trying and failing, so much denying and wailing, fed up with seeking and hiding, analyzing and dividing. It just takes a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior of the heart. All that hoping and waiting, never arriving, so frustrating, fed up with lying. Please, no more tricks, no more running. There's nothing to fix. It just takes a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior to meet what's here. No limitations, no control, nothing to get, nothing to hold, nothing to lose, nothing to know, nothing to win, no final goal. It just takes a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior, a courageous warrior to face the void.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. So lovely to see you all. And also welcome to those who are not showing themselves. That's also fine. And also to those who are watching on the on YouTube, on the live stream. Welcome. And I won't be responding to any comments on the YouTube stream. If you want to ask a question, you need to join the Zoom for next time anyway. And yes, Colleen is asking, beautiful song, that was your husband? Yes, yes, Robert Adelman. Okay, just, there's that. So welcome to another open webinar. We do these once a month on different themes. And please excuse my voice, I'm just getting over the flu, so I think I sound a little bit blocked up still. Yeah. So this theme today is, what is awakening? Which is the big question. So we'll be getting into that in a minute, or in a few minutes, but we'll start first by just taking some moments to feel into the body. So if you just close your eyes and take some deeper breaths into the belly. And with each breath, feeling the body here, now, the present experience, whatever it is for you right now. Whether it's a physical sensation, emotional, whether it's sound, some kind of image, or even whether it's thought. It's all welcome to be here, just the way it is. But not one experience means anything more than anything else. Just scanning this body, noticing whatever is here. Noticing the sound in the background. You may notice the sound of the dog barking here. Is another phenomena, another experience happening presently. And as you notice whatever experience is happening here for you now, there is the awareness of whatever is happening, the knowing of it. And this awareness is not an experience. It is that knows or is aware of every experience. So no matter what you might be experiencing physically in this body, this awareness is untouched. It is simply aware and has no other qualities. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't judge anything. It has no preference for anything. You could say it's the holding space for this whole play of experience, whatever is happening in the play in this moment right now. This awareness holds it all. It is the background, the backdrop to it all, always silent, still, pristine, perfect, nothing missing, always whole. Even when in our human experience, we don't feel whole, we feel perhaps broken or suffering. This awareness is simply aware. And this awareness is who you are. This is your true nature. Beyond all stories of thought, beyond the whole pretense of being someone, this is you. So let's take some deeper breaths again into the belly. Really feeling this body here now. Feet on the ground, the bum on the seat. The breath in the body, the belly. When you're ready, we can open our eyes. So, awakening, what is it? Well, the way I see it is that it is the most fundamental, basic recognition of who we are. It's the baseline from which, once we recognize that, then we have a totally different perspective on what the hell is going on here in this life. Which is why I call it the most fundamental, basic recognition. Because without that recognition, somehow you're just making a lot of effort to try to get somewhere, or to do something, or become someone. You're trying to get it right, or to live well. And this effort is somehow wasted. It doesn't help, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't fix anything or anyone. So this recognition is recognizing that who I have believed myself to be is simply a thought, a story, a concept, a belief, an assumption. And that in fact, when I don't buy into that belief, the best that our thinking can say is, I don't know who I am. If I'm not who I think I am, if I'm not the story of me, I don't know. And in this I don't know, there's a surrender, a falling back into nothing, not knowing, not being anyone, not going anywhere or becoming anything, simply being here with this present experience for no reason. Really, awakening is seeing that the thinking is not as important and meaningful as we had taken it to be. That when a thought says, I am me and I live my life and I live in this body and I live in the timeline of my past and my future. When we take those thoughts really seriously and meaningfully, as if they are absolute truth, then the experience that we have is reflected by that we have an experience of being somehow limited and located. Energetically, we feel constrained to a small space. We see ourselves as in here and the world out there. And then we feel isolated and alone, and we long to merge and to connect and to find ourselves. And most of the time we look out there in the other or in certain experiences to find that sense of wholeness or coming home that we long for. So the bottom line really is to see that the thinking is not true. It's a useful tool for managing our lives in the daily life, but it has no more meaning than being a tool for the human experience. And not to say that the thinking is not a wonderful thing. It is incredible. It is super creative and very helpful for being someone in the world, for playing in this game of life. But many thoughts are, or in fact, perhaps most, even all thoughts are referring to a me and assuming that this me is located inside a body. And this, when we really look at it, when we really explore and try to find, where is this me? Who is this me? We might discover that, in fact, we don't find anyone here. And discovering that there is no one here, you could say that this is awakening. Discovering that there's no one here and that every thought that is referring to someone is obviously not true, because you've discovered that there's no one here. So who are these thoughts referring to? They are stories, thought stories, referring to no one. So we wake up out of the dream of thought. Because it does seem like a dream when we believe these thoughts about me and this limited energetic experience that follows. It feels like a dream because we're experiencing everything in a certain small way. And then when we wake up out of that, we look back at that dream and go, whoa, that was, in fact, nothing changed and everything changed. In the same way as like the difference between the dream and reality. You could say that there's something completely different, and yet it can be quite similar. The experience even can be quite similar. But the perspective of it, it's not even a mental perspective, it's a 360 degrees complete shift in the way of perceiving, of knowing myself. When I don't believe the thoughts, then my experience is not believed to be, is not experienced as being limited and located. This human still goes on living her life, but I am not located in her. When I don't believe the thoughts, the stories that refer to an imaginary me, then also the thoughts that say I'm in here and the world is out there are seen to not be true either. All the thoughts that tell the story of separation between me and the rest of life are seen to not be true either. And then the merging and the meeting, the coming home that we all long for is seen to already be here. The problem with when I describe this, so often when we are still taking our thoughts to be very meaningful, when we hear someone speak about awakening, it gets filtered through the thinking, and the thinking is always referring to this me, right? So then we hear this kind of description as somehow meaningful for me. How can this me become awakened? And of course, it doesn't work that way. The me that you believe yourself to be will never become awakened. You could say it's the death of this me. The death of someone, this dream someone, seeing that this someone that you've taken yourself to be is not real. And at first, this can be devastating. This can be painful. This can be frightening. It can also be disappointing if you've imagined that somehow you were going to have some special experience, or you were going to float off in bliss. You might discover that actually it's very, very ordinary, which is why I describe it as the most fundamental and simple recognition. Because it's very, very simple, very, very obvious. In fact, in the guided meditation at the beginning, I guided you to acknowledge that our true nature is this awareness of this whole play of life, and that is in fact your true nature, not this story of me, not the thought me. And this is so simple and so obvious, and yet when we are taking our thoughts seriously, this can be overlooked. Because somehow we're expecting something kind of fancy, something really special and wow. And this is why this is overlooked, because it's like the mind says, well, no, it can't be that. No, that's just, ordinary. Of course, everyone knows this awareness. And yeah, everyone does know this. It's not special. Awakening is easy. The living of it, that's where it gets more challenging. Many people have awakening experiences. Sometimes they're accompanied by some physical, mental, emotional sense of expansion or bliss or something like that. But usually those experiences don't last. And they usually happen simply because the previous experience was very contrastingly limited. And so when we recognize that I'm not limited to what I think, then the experience can be like suddenly you have some beautiful experience. But it's not like that for everybody. It can be with no particular special experience at all. It can be just like, oh, that. Or it can even be, well, I've always known this. This is how it was for me, actually, as a child. I always knew my nature was not the thought story of me. But my challenge personally was how this is lived. How to bring it into this conscious lived experience in the human form. But that's for a different webinar. So I'd love to hear from you and see if you have any questions. And all questions are welcome, even if they seem silly or, somehow, not so important or whatever. This is the platform for all of our questions about what is awakening. So if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand. You can also type questions in the chat, but I will give priority to those who have their video on, and then we can have a dialogue. Okay. Rose.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I've got a basic question about the living of it. Because the mind is not wanting to do it from thinking, but is kind of wanting to do it. So does it just happen? Or what happens next?
Well, as I said, that's more for another webinar, but okay. Yeah, I don't mind to answer it. Yeah, it does. In one way, yes, it does just happen, because when the thinking starts to get involved, it starts to be, again, a story for me or about me and where I can get to and how can I live it and how can I be in control of my life. So in that way, it happens by itself. But at the same time, as when there's this recognition that I'm not in charge, that I'm not the one doing it, there is a natural curiosity. And that curiosity, like a childlike curiosity about life, how does this work? What's going on here? Becomes the motivation for further exploration. And this is, yeah, in a nutshell, how it is lived.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rose. Nicole.
So just briefly following on from Rose there, and something I think I've asked before. So is it that you live in like an inspired thought way? Is there thought that comes in that's a bit more inspiring than normal thought?
Thought couldn't be here. What do you mean by inspiring?
Well, I've had in past, you've got general thoughts that just sort of seem to run your life. And then there seems to be something, a more cleaner thought that comes from, it's like it's not from my person as such. It just sort of comes up from nowhere.
Yes. Well, maybe you've heard me tell this story of the servant and the king. I won't tell that story now, but you know, it's really where thought, as the servant, bows down to the true king, you know, as life itself, and says, well, I'm not in charge. I don't know how to live. I'm not the one living. You're the boss, you know, you're the true king. And so thought is in service to life itself. So it can be there, but it's very clear that it's not in charge. And so when it comes as a tool. It offers its services, and life might run with that thought or not. And yes, it's seen that essentially every thought arises out of emptiness, which is that true nature. You know, the thought, even the servant is in fact part of the king, right? So it arises out of that. So thought pops up out of emptiness. It's never my thought, or I'm not trying to think it. It's just, oh, yeah. Even the most basic thoughts can be like that, you know, even like, you know, where's my cup? You know, it's just coming out of nowhere. Right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Marit.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, sorry, I muted you by mistake. I was trying to unmute you.
Okay, hi.
Right.
Sorry, I was a little bit late to this gathering and I didn't hear much that you said.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure if I have a very clear question, but I want to share what I have been experiencing starting from the beginning of this year. It's like I have a lot of confusion coming up. Like in past, I used to understand, like be able to at least analyze and understand what is going on and why I have some kind of feelings and why life some things are happening in life, and now I'm in this place where like whatever answer or solution I come up, it doesn't like work, and a lot of like confusion, no answers.
Yeah.
And so just the only thing that helps is sort of like dropping into the heart, and but I don't remember to do that all the time. So
Yeah, so it sounds like you're in a kind of transition period, something like that, between taking your thoughts seriously and meaningfully, and seeing that they are not meaningful. So in a way, when you describe dropping into the heart, that's kind of what I would say is seeing the thinking as not being in charge. And then you're just left with this, what's happening now? And you're feeling sensation. Yeah. And there are no clear answers necessarily as to how you should be living or what you should be doing. It's very different to taking your thoughts seriously, because then you kind of have something to think about or somewhere to go. For me, going there, and as you start to see more and more that the thinking doesn't mean anything, it leaves you without any ground under your feet, and it takes some time to start to discover that there is another way of living. But at first it can be very disorientating.
and vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you don't know how to live. Like, what? And so you've seen that the thinking can't help, that none of that is true, but nothing's replaced it. It's not like you have something else to hold on to, despite the fact that the thinking might want to replace it with someone, not someone, maybe also someone, but something. Like, for example, the dropping into the heart, this can become another kind of technique to hold on to for the thinking. Not to say that it's a bad thing at all, but just, it can be something that then becomes like this new way of living. And even that is a mental game. So even that has to be let go of. And then you really don't know how to live. And then thinking comes in with something else. Oh, I just do this and try to be that, or have this attitude. And you hold on to that for a while until again you see, oh, that's another mental game. And you drop that too. And you're constantly free falling in not knowing how to live, not knowing who you are, not knowing anything.
Will it get comfortable in the end?
No.
No.
I mean, it becomes, let's say, you discover that when you don't have the expectation of comfort, then it's comfortably uncomfortable. You kind of get used to that life is a rocky road, and that's the other factor. Waking up out of the dream involves often a lot of discomfort. Often we think that when I wake up I'll be in bliss, but actually it can be the other way around, because the beliefs that you've believed in about yourself and about life have also acted as a way of protecting yourself from feeling. So as you see more and more that thoughts are not true, these protection layers inevitably fall away, or are seen through, at least not, they may not fall away completely, but they are seen to not be able to protect you. So then there's no choice but to feel, and to feel all the things that you have been kind of avoiding feeling by believing in these thought stories and identities. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Ollie.
Hey,
Hey.
I think it's I think it's kind of following on from the last question really. How would you describe like the processes involved in waking up, and the processes and the kind of how do you describe the processes involved in waking up?
The processes. I mean, I did describe it. I think you also missed the beginning, huh?
Sorry about
I mean, it's not necessarily a process. It can be different for everybody. So for some people, it can be a sudden recognition, like, oh, and for others, it's just very gentle unfolding or unraveling. So yeah, there's not necessarily a process. Maybe you have a more specific question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like markers, I guess, because there's moments in throughout the day that I kind of step back into this spacious awareness, and then before I even know it, I'm back in this contracted mind, and it's like it feels very like one way of being it's very different to the other way of being. And my experience, the mind's, it's like when a thought comes in, my attention's sprung into that kind of the mind-based sense of self, and then I'll notice that I'm in mind and be able to step back, but still I can feel these contractions, like the tension, like in my head, in the head, and it's almost like, how is the? I heard like I'd describe it as like a kind of clenched fist. It's almost like I feel like there's a clenched fist, which kind of is like this sense of self. How is the processing, or how is the, kind of letting go of that fundamentally? That clenched fist, or is there always that fist? But I'm not talking about clenched, just about these micro, I think you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's the thinking, first of all, that imagines a timeline of, getting more and more unclenched, because it's imagining that this me is experiencing a clenching, and then this me is experiencing that sense of expansion. So it's still referring an experience to this me, this belief that there is a me, as if the me can wake up, but in fact the me can never wake up. The clenching or unclenching is irrelevant. It's only relevant for the me that wants to have a certain experience for me. So the clenching or unclenching is irrelevant. It's simply an experience just like anything else, and doesn't mean anything.
So how does awareness recognize that it's awareness?
It doesn't need to, it is already.
Yeah. And then how is the me experienced through that?
Through awareness.
Yeah, the sense of a me. There isn't a sense of a me, right?
There may be a sense of something, but there is never a real separate me. Any sense of something is just another experience, just like anything else, and doesn't mean anything.
And it's letting go, is the letting go? Is that how you describe?
Yes, but It's not that you can do that.
Yeah.
So your mind is trying to grasp, give me something to do. Give me something to do. That's basically it's what it's asking in each question that you ask. Surely, there must be a process, or there must be a path. I need to do this, this, and this, and then I'll get there. But it's essentially trying to ease the pain. Obviously, when there is clenching, it's uncomfortable, it's painful. And when there's more that sense of stepping back or expansion, there's a preference for that. You like that, right? So you want more of that. And it's a preference for a particular experience for me. It's got nothing to do with awakening. Awakening is nothing to do with an experience. There may be an experience as a byproduct, but it's not the point.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Someone else has a question or would like to have a dialogue? Peter.
Yeah, I was wondering because nothing came up to say, or nothing came up to ask, and then I realized, but it is pointless to be for me to ask questions, how and when, and so it leaves me without even without questions.
Yes, but
I don't know.
sorry to just cut in there, if there is a question, the idea that it's pointless, it's true, but at the same time, don't suppress any question that might be there. I say this also to everybody because it's necessary for the mind to ask whatever question might be there, just to kind of make sure that you've gone down all the routes that you might have hope about,
Yes, I realize now that somewhere I'm afraid to make a fool out of myself in asking silly things, which I've been through 1,000 times already.
Yeah, but you know, this is the place to be a fool.
Okay. Thank you.
Was that it? Or did you want to actually ask something?
Yeah, well, there is something, because so many teachers have been, of course, if you go back their biography, in a stage in their life that they weren't awakened, and then when they have awakened, so the mind says there must have been a transition, which leads to the question how. And it is so frustrating that I never have been given as an answer that is satisfying. But can you give it a try?
The frustration is part of it, you know. Before with when Ollie was asking the process,
Yeah.
you know, but part of the process, you could say, is asking the questions, not getting the answer that you want, and feeling the disappointment, the annoyance, the frustration, even the anger.
Yeah.
You know, we have to check, as I was saying, like go down all those pathways where you think, well, you know, maybe if I get the answer to this question, then maybe, you know, we have to go there, have hope, and then feel the hopelessness, so that we can see for ourselves and not just believe what other people say or teachers say or whatever, that this can't be understood by the mind.
Yeah.
Right? So the mind has to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail.
Yeah.
So that you really know in your own direct experience that it is not something of the mind.
Yeah. So finding the courage to go my way and bumping my head 1,000 times and still going.
Yeah. A willingness to keep making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
No, knowing that you know, there's no you know, who are you gonna make a fool out of you know, of yourself too? Like who is out there, you know? Anyway, if you believe yourself to be someone, then you're afraid that you make a fool out of yourself to others out there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, but if you see that actually it's all you, right? The thinking just needs to kind of use this space now, use this unmani to explore itself by speaking out these questions, hearing this unmani part of yourself respond or not respond, you know, not give you the right answer, and then feeling how it feels. This is the process, you could say, of the thinking bowing down more and more to the true master.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do it. Oh no, I can't. No, it's hopeless. I can't get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yesterday I had that there is a sweetness in engaging engaging the pain of not knowing, or just stopping, avoiding, and just be with it. And that's a sweet spot in it to discover. And well, then again, hope arises. But yeah.
Okay. But as when hope arises, you can start to see, okay, this is the thinking. And I mean, for you, I also would say that, you know, it can be also just a really old habit, you know, to keep chasing on that path and keep imagining that there is something better or more out there. You know, it's just a mechanism of the thinking as a way of avoiding feeling something that is maybe a bit uncomfortable in the present experience.
Mhm.
So
So
when you notice that there's a hoping thought, then bring the attention back.
yeah, that is what exactly when I decide to stop avoiding and really be with what is here, that will deliver some progress. Yeah, but it is.
Yeah, but that's again another one day when I decide to stop.
Yeah.
No, it's just there's no progress, just being here, feeling what is here.
Only that without any result or outcome.
This is the result. This is the outcome already. It's not going anywhere. That's the other aspect of awakening, is that we recognize that time is also a mental construct. You know, and time goes along together with this me, this belief in a me, that you know, if we believe in a me, then we believe that this me is moving in time. We see that the me is just a thought. There's no time, there's just now.
How do you do this with all of us helpless people, time and time again, that you offer yourself in clearing things up for us? So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Laura.
Hi, can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yeah.
I have a question about when the mind is, I mean, this common question over and over, but because of a fairly recent traumatic event, I have kind of a PTSD where the mind is constantly flooding. So just wondering if you can talk to that.
Yeah. Yeah, this mind is trying to help, huh? It's trying to help by maybe going back to the event and trying to understand, or trying to grasp some bit of it that could be different, or it's simply trying to help. It has a good intention. I know it doesn't really help, but it is trying. It's innocent in that way, you know? It's trying to be a good servant. But every time you go back mentally to the event, in a way, you feel the trauma again. And yeah, this is not easy. So first of all, I would just be very gentle with yourself, you know, to not expect anything to be any other way, you know, to be any different. To, where possible, to just gently bring your attention to the sensations, staying present with what is actually happening now as much as possible, even when the mind wants to drift back to what was. Anytime you can, just bring yourself to the present sensation, the feet on the ground, you know, looking around. Everything's safe now. It's all okay. You know, reminding this body, this animal, this body is an animal, right? Reminding this human animal that, oh, you know, everything's simple, it's all okay now.
Yeah, it's as someone was saying, it's the extremes of being able to be in that open, identityless place and then being swept into the trauma.
Yeah, and those extremes are a wild roller coaster. Yeah, and then who you are, as that awareness is aware of those extremes. It's aware of the whole roller coaster, but it doesn't save you from feeling the discomfort and the pain. it is untouched by it, but at the same time, you still have to feel it. And this is the paradox, right? There's the human experience of those wild extremes. And then there's the knowing of that, but the mind can't grasp.
What do you, when you say the mind is trying to help by revisiting the event, can you say more about that?
Well, I don't know exactly what event the event was for you, but this is often what the mind, the mind tries all kinds of ways to help. We often make out the mind to be the enemy somehow, that it's causing so much trouble. But actually, it really has a good intention, and it's trying to find peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to help ease the suffering by looking for peace in what happened, in the memory of what happened, and searching for some place to rest there. And it can't be found that way. Peace can't be found that way. But the mind doesn't know that. So that's why it's trying. It's trying to help in that way. So by reminding it that actually peace is here already. Peace is, just sitting, a bum on the seat. This is peace. Very simple sensation. Your feet on the ground. This is peace. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda.
Yeah, just a quick thing. For me wanting, say, enlightenment, or the me wanting change of living situation or a Porsche, is exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just turn the goal into a spiritual goal, but
yeah,
same thing.
so because if there's no me, it doesn't matter what it's searching for. This whole better because I'm on a spiritual thing, the me is as energized as wanting or whatever it is.
Yeah. And so, some carrot dangling somewhere, and which is not here.
Yeah, but not just the carrot, the eater of the carrot is not there. So if there's no eater of a carrot, then then it doesn't matter how big or small the carrot is or what it looks like, because there's no one to eat it.
Exactly. And whether the carrot comes along, whether some big amazing experience of enlightenment happens, who cares? No one's here to care.
Yeah. And the body as an animal, human animal, like touch something hot so it recoils or it burns or it loses a limb. Pain is felt as in pain itself, but it's just like pain in a kind of the meaning one puts on it, like, oh, what's happened to me, or I shouldn't have done that, or whatever. The pain can be, well, obviously it feels less if there's not the story around the me feeling it, but it's still pain in the way that the body feels hot or cold.
Yeah. The sensation of pain is whatever it is, right? And knowing your true nature or being awakened doesn't necessarily lessen any pain. But when you have that belief that it's happening to me, there's usually a lot of tension and stress and a kind of trying to do something about it. And all of that is also very painful. And when there's a tension around pain, it makes the pain worse.
Yeah. And one last thing. When I always think of when Ram Dass said when he was having a heart attack or something, he I don't know, I may have misread it or misunderstood it, but it felt like he was saying in that moment, thought or ego kind of came back or something. It was about the body. I think I must have misread it, but the body wants to survive, the animal body. So and in that moment, I guess it does everything to commandeer thought to believe that it's real. Or
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what Ram Dass, I probably totally missed. I don't know what happened. He kind of said something that when he was having this kind of heart thing, something happened different. He wasn't in the same expansive space.
Yeah, okay. But whether the thought me comes in or not, who cares? Who needs it not to be here?
Oh, okay, so in that moment, then identification has gone from the I am to the
very fact that, I mean, I don't know about.
No, I don't.
Maybe let's drop that.
leave it.
But the very
for
fact
a
that
person having a heart attack who's perhaps been
okay, but what I was going to say is that whenever, I mean, the very fact that there was a thought that came in afterwards saying, "Oh, my ego came back in there." That's more the ego than when thought might have come in, when he was having a heart attack. It's the commentary afterwards that's like, "Oh, that shouldn't have been there. I thought I was enlightened," and then the ego came back.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. I don't think
you weren't enlightened. You weren't anything.
Yeah.
There was no one there. So why did you even care?
Right.
Thought
Okay.
came back. Who's even noticing or keeping track of what was there? And,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's So yeah. So whenever there's a thought of I did or I'm not, that's not based on any reality.
No, but it can be here. It's totally welcome. All those me thoughts can be here. They just never actually refer to an actual me.
No,
so
there's no.
You don't have to clean up all the me thoughts and stop.
No. So they then become like, distinct thoughts arising.
They're just phenomena like the chair or
an ornament.
Yeah,
you could be full of them.
Anything could happen. They're totally welcome.
But there's no differentiation between that me thought and the table. Yeah.
Yes, but there's no one.
No.
Saying that part of life is more important than that part.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question, Peter.
Hi. Yeah, I keep changing what I want to say based on what everyone else says. But one of the things that you said about how that thought is helpful and trying to help, and one of those things, what came to mind there is that if we're constantly relaying this thought of a traumatic event, then perhaps the way it's helping us is to bring up that event so that we relive the event so that we can release an emotion around the event rather than just distracting ourselves from that thought and they're not having the opportunity to release that emotion.
Yes.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes, it can be. It can be, that's why I wouldn't kind of dismiss thought completely. Yes, see it as a servant, but it has its function. It has all kinds of functions, and as you say, like using it to explore something in yourself, an emotion or something, is one way. I mean, I remember, if I felt that that was something that I really needed to express emotionally, and that I would put on some like heavy metal music or some romantic sad music, just as any way to kind of use the mind to trigger some kind of image or something like that, so that I could express and have a cry or a shout or whatever.
I've done something similar. It's kind of like my own sort of crying therapy. And when I know I'm going through a hard time, I'll feel like I've got to release emotion, and it might have felt stuck for a time, but then it hits me and I'm like, right, now I've got to release emotion. And I'll sit and I'll allow mantras that trigger me. And then any thoughts that come up, I'll really dwell on the thoughts and be like, wow, that's so bad. This could happen. It could get really bad, and really allow the worrying. And I think that's what it doesn't feel as intense when I allow what is the human experience. And then I can become this watching, and I almost feel like I am in that space, because there's almost like this commentary, there's this experience of emotion flooding out, and then there's this other spacious sort of observation of, it's almost like, wow, look how hard you're crying now. This human is now really crying. What's going on there? That's amazing. And then I don't know, it's just an allowance, I feel like.
Absolutely. And that is more and more possible in the way you describe it, when you recognize that the thought me doesn't actually refer to a separate me. Then it's actually safer. It feels safer to allow yourself to just really express what is there, as like just a kind of wave of energy that needs to express itself. Whereas when you believe yourself to be limited and located and separate, then it doesn't always feel safe to use those thoughts in the way that you described, to go into that, because you are really believing it.
So then you're stuck in this me. You're stuck. Like you're suffering.
You're just suffering again and again. So then it's helpful to actually see that I'm not that, and the thoughts are not real.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And I see just before we go, we have Ollie. Oh, many thanks. Yeah, great. As always. Thank you very much, John. And I heard the expression, thoughts becoming like thieves entering an empty home. Seems to be relevant to this. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't even say thieves. They're just like guests, they're just so welcome, these thoughts. They don't mean anything. Even to call them thieves somehow makes them wrong. They can be here. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll end there for today. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here, and also thank you for your donations. And if you still feel to make a donation, you can still do that on the link that you were sent. The next webinar is on the theme Embracing Life, which will be next month. And then also this week, this Thursday, I'm holding a grief circle. Once a month, I hold online grief circle every, I think it's the second Thursday of the month. Yeah. So you can go on my website and have a look, see if that resonates for you. And then also, it's not yet on my website, but it will be very soon. I will be holding a retreat in Holland in June, on the 26th to the 30th of June. So have a look. That the early bird discount booking will be open very soon, in the next day or so. It should be on there. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, see you again. Lots of love. Bye.